Hi, Caleb with Brownells here, and in today's video we're going to be building out a Sig Spear LT for Taskforce Expedition. So if you're not familiar with Taskforce Expedition, they're a nonprofit that raises awareness and raises funds for other nonprofits. Just a few, like Special Operation Wounded Warriors is one. Another one is like different 2A foundations like the American Suppressor Association. And that's just to name a few. If you want to know more about Taskforce Expedition, go check out taskforceexpedition.com. All right, so what we're doing here is we're kitting out this Sig Spear, and this one's actually going to be donated to them, and to them I mean Taskforce Expedition, of course. So what we're going to be doing here, let me just take you through it. So we have a Spear LT in 5.56, and the whole reason. I'll go through the parts and stuff I picked, but basically Pete Brownell was like, hey, we have some rifles I want to donate. I want one of them to be really cool, so just kind of make it happen. I was like, okay. He said, it doesn't matter how much it costs, just make it really cool. And I was like, challenge accepted. So here we are. I chose a Sig Spear LT in 5.56, of course, and I don't know who's going to be like winning or receiving this rifle, right? So I wanted it to be something that pretty much everybody would love to shoot, and everybody likes shooting 5.56. All right, and on it we're going to be putting a Nightforce ATACR 1:8, and I kind of kept with like the flat darker theme, but I didn't overdo it, and I'll show you the areas I didn't overdo it, right? So Nightforce ATACR 1:8, that's going on this Spur mount here, and then on that we're also going to be mounting a Trichicon RMR as a backup. And then in front of that, moving towards the front of the firearm here, we got a Surefire Scout Light. Going to be installing this on there. We changed out the tail cap on it so that we can plug in a Unity Axon Switch. And the reason we're using a Unity Axon Switch is because we're also mounting a Steiner DBAL. Alright. And then as far as cable management goes, we're using Forward Controls Design rail panels. We'll get to those. And the grip, we're going to actually replace the grip with a Die-Free Co. Kung Fu grip. And they do make it in a flat dark earth, but I stuck with the black just because I didn't want to overdo the FDE, you know. Okay, so let's just kind of jump right into it. I'll start with that grip, because that's really the only thing on the base gun itself I need to change. And we'll just get some tools and stuff here. Pop the back of this grip open. And then I'm using fix-it sticks, but I'm putting them in the Brownells ratcheting screwdriver. And we're just going to unscrew that. Pull the grip off, and if you've never changed a grip on one of these, it's very similar to changing one on an AR-15. Alright, and our springs are kind of going everywhere here, so we're just going to reposition those and just drop the new grip back on. And then we'll take the screw that came with the die-free and drop it on in. And snug it up. And the reason I wanted to change the grip, even though this one comes at a pretty steep angle, right, from a standard AR-15 grip, but the thing is, this stock on this particular model is pretty short. So it's way more comfortable to operate a short stock whenever you have a grip angle such as this. So that's why I wanted to change that out. Even though the Sig stock one isn't terrible, but I just like that one better. Okay, so let's move the gun to the vise, and then we'll do everything else from there. And the good thing about this one is that it takes a standard AR-15 vise block. We'll use a Midwest Industries block, and we'll put that in our Brownells gunsmith vise. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and get this chamber flag out of my way here. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started with the optic itself, I suppose. So we're just going to determine kind of where we want it here based on length of pull. Again, this is a pretty short stock, so eye relief, we're going to go probably about even with the charging handle should be good. Alright, and then that'll put us about right there. So I'm just kind of eyeballing this here. That goes on. Make sure we put some forward force on it before we clamp it down. Alright, now from here, we'll get our optic ready, and we'll go ahead and cut open the screws that come with this here. Because these mounts are actually going to be mounting at an angle, like so, right? So, we'll just cut this back open. I say cut it back open like it was open before. We'll just cut it open. Alright, now it comes with the Torx bit as well. The rings do, I mean. So we'll use that. I'll also get a torque attachment ready, but I'm not going to use it yet. Alright, so I'm just going to set my scope in. Put one of my rings on. And just get started securing it here. And I'm not torquing anything down yet. I'm just kind of getting my gap between each side of the ring close, so it doesn't look like an amateur did it, right? Okay, so it's still loose in there. We'll do the same thing with the rear one. We'll just put 2 screws in. All right. And one of my favorite things about this particular base is that it comes with a optic leveling tool. So you actually just take this tool and slide it in to level your optic. There we go. And actually, we'll just we'll leave it in place as we torque the optic down. Okay. Now, I'll get the rest of my screws started real quick here. Again, not putting any torque on them yet. And if you want to see a more detailed video on optic mounting, I'm just kind of breezing through it here. We have that content, so go ahead and look it up on our channel. Alright, switch to the torque attachment, and we'll torque it down. Alright, and the same thing on the rear one here. Alright, now I'll just do a quick peek here, make sure it at least looks level. Alright. Alright, so now let's figure out where we want this RMR. I'm thinking right in front of this cap should be perfect. So what we need to do is take our Spur ring mount for the RMR. Open up those screws there. Now 2 of these are going to secure the RMR. And it comes with the extra, that's nice. And then these 2 are going to secure it to the actual rings. Alright, so that's the front, so that's going to go right there. And then we'll take our plate out as well, just to get that set aside. Okay. Get these screws in. And I'm just torquing these down. You can absolutely put Loctite in here if you so choose. All right. Put on the plates, then we'll put on the RMR. Get both of the screws snugged up, then we'll torque them down as well. And before we do this, it would probably be pretty nice of me to actually like put the battery in the RMR. So I'm going to pull this back off and throw that battery in there. Alright, battery just drops right in. And then it drops on the surface you're working on. Alright, so I'm gonna work smarter, not harder, right? There we go. Alright, so now we have a backup optic, or close range optic if you will. So, gun and the optics are mounted on the gun. Let's move a little bit further forward. So to do that, let's just kind of determine where we're going to put this DBAL. Also, let's see how much clearance we have on the optic. Yeah, that'll be fine. On the lower magnification, you can definitely see the Steiner DBAL. So I'm glad I didn't go with a lower optic mount. But it clears it. And with the higher magnification, you can't even see it. Alright, so let's put it, well, it's also going to be determined by where a button goes, right? So let me pretend like I am a right-handed shooter for a moment. So I'm going to want that as far forward as possible so I can get the best grip on the firearm. Alright, so let's mount it all the way up. And then we'll probably end up running our cable management. Let's see here. Plug in our A and B. And then our other one's going to go to the light itself. So we're going to mount the light on this side and roll it over so that it kind of sits up against here, and we can actually conceal and manage a lot of those cables underneath the light. Yep, that'll be good. So we'll mount the Axon right here. And it comes with all the hardware we need. So we're just gonna plug in the nuts and then we'll take the bolts. All right. I'm going to start with the front screw here. Don't think I'm making contact. There we go. Okay. These can be a little tricky sometimes when you have your cables putting a little bit of tension on it. Then these come with a little bit of thread locker pre-installed. All right, and that feels pretty good. That's about the right spot. All right, so let's keep going. We'll go ahead and plug in our light. And we can run this cable this way, that's fine, because we still have our cable management panels. So if I need to put them here on the side and run the cable through it, that's no problem. So I think that's a good spot for the light. And all these cables up front are tucked in under the light, so they're not going to go anywhere. So that's making good use of that space. Alright, I'm just going to lock the light in place. Alright, so that is working. And I did put a battery in here, so we'll just switch it to visual and make sure that's working as well. It is. Perfect. Alright. Now to do something about this cable back here. And these cable management panels, they're billet aluminum, and they just have channels cut in the bottom. Alright, so we have that management panel on there. So all I'm going to do at this point is take the other one I have and put it on the other side just to keep things symmetrical. This one's going on for pretty much just aesthetics. And maybe a little bit of grip. Now we're going to go ahead and put on our forward grip here. Make sure I have the right size. I do. Alright. Just going to use some parallel pliers to help get this set up. And we have a really good video on installing M-Lock accessories as well, if you have any issues or questions about that. So I'm just kind of breezing through it here. So I'm going to put our grip at a forward angle. But where is still yet to be determined. That may be pretty good right there, actually. We'll try it out. Trying to do this blind here. Yep, that's a good spot for it right there. Control the firearm and still reach those buttons. Perfect. Okay, so I think that's everything. Alright, so let's get all this stuff out the way here and we'll take a closer look at it. Alright, again, so what we installed was this dye-free Co. Kung Fu grip, Nightforce ATACR 1-8 Trichicon RMR, both on Spur mounts, a Unity Axon Switch, Steiner DBAL, and a Surefire Scout light. And oh, of course the BCM forward grip and the forward controls, cable management rail panels, and that's all there is to it. Alright, so we'll actually rotate this cap here so that when it's open it's not blocking the RMR. Okay, that is all there is to it. Alright, so this was the Sig Spear LT build for Taskforce Expedition. Again, if you have any questions about Taskforce Expedition at all, go check out their webpage. It's a great resource. It'll tell you everything you want to know about them. And if you have any questions or comments about this particular build, leave them down below. And as always, feel free to give us a call on the tech line. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.